Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm standing here because I have all my Heliconias in there and they're all sort of spaced out because also as they have such large foliage, I always like them to be at the back of the garden. Now, the most interesting thing why I chose to do an episode of Propagation today on Heliconias is because of this particular one. I went the other day and I was given a gift of a Heliconia, and the person who gave it to me said it's not this lobster claw, it could be this, and I think it's a parrot beak plant. So that's what we're going to propagate today. But the beautiful thing about Heliconias is not so much about their foliage, is these sort of surprises that you get, and they're wonderful. And Christmas is coming, and I normally do have my Heliconias in my sitting room during Christmas because they have that lovely red and yellow, and it just picks up with all the Christmas decorations. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice. I'm the Red Soil Gardener. Let's talk about Heliconias. And by the way, did you know they are related to the banana tree? So these are my Heliconias, and I'm not very sure because they were a gift. So I'm not very sure, but I think they are the parrot's beak. And if they are the parrot's beak, it's my favorite Heliconia, so I'm really excited. Now the thing about Heliconias, especially this parrot's beak, is that they do get very, very tall. I've seen some that go up to about 6 meters, but they do like a bit of sunlight. So where you position it is actually really important. A bit of warmth, somewhere where it gets like a morning sun, and then the rest it can do in shade. If it does get a lot of sun, what happens is that you do damage the leaves. Even though the leaves look very hardy, but they could start sort of going brown and get damaged. And then second thing is water. They do like water. The thing about these plants, they are related to the canna lilies and to the ginger plant and bananas. So they have rhizomes, and because of the rhizomes, these plants do like water. During the hot season, the summer, I would water it more, and especially when it starts flowering, it just needs that extra moist to push up those flowers. But other than that, once you do get to winter, I would actually reduce the amount of water that you would get, let's say during the colder season, and only do your finger test if you have it in a container, or just even the ground, just let it dry up a little bit. And then once it's dried, you do water, but not constantly watering. Now, the thing about these beautiful plants is that people do grow them indoors, and I'd really love to have it indoors because of the amazing foliage. You can imagine, I've seen sitting rooms where you do get this amazing foliage of the Heliconia. But if you do live in the colder climates in the northern hemisphere, and you do have them in containers, is always just keep them inside during the winter. And they do go into dormancy if the temperature does reduce to less than 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Also is that if you do have it as an indoor plant, always just remember these are tropical plants. So humidity is very important for them. For those who have these plants outdoor, the only problem you do get is the foliage. Sometimes it does get a bit too much, and they do tend to fall down. I would actually go in there, and if you do get those stems that have fallen, I would actually remove it. Also, as they flower, they only flower once from a stem, is just remove the stem which had the flower from the base. Let me just show you something. So this is, I've potted these ones, and then I just wanted you to see the foliage, what happens with the Heliconia. Now this is one, again, the ones that I had been given. I'm just going to cut this out, all this roots, and then we can start fresh. So this is what we're talking about. So this is the rhizome here. As you see, this is the rhizome, and you get all those little shoots shooting out from the rhizome, as in here. All these come from the rhizome. So that is actually the rhizome of the parrot beak. Now you see every single bit, every single shoot that goes up is attached to the rhizome, and if you do eventually do a propagation, is that each of these shoots you could actually plant, and the plant will eventually develop and look like this. But in general, what I am going to do is I'm going to just pot it here again in this rich organic soil full of bark, grit in here, a bit of pumice, and the pumice is to give us a well-draining soil, because we know with rhizomes, if you don't have a well-drained soil, you do get root rot. So what I'm doing here is just adding this one here, and as I said, I wasn't very sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to look for the perfect spot where it gets a bit of morning light and a bit of indirect light in the afternoon, so I don't damage the leaf. But I have to look in my fully congested garden where to put it, because I would really love this plant. So basically propagation is done through division, and the division of the rhizome again is that everywhere you do get a shoot coming from the rhizome can be propagated. For this sort of variety, it'll take you about 12, let's say a year to 2 years before you start having the actual flowers. With smaller varieties, it's much faster. It does happen between 6 to a year. But the bigger variety, just be a bit patient, and when you do get that flower, you will never regret it. Again, as I mentioned, these beautiful parrot beak, they do grow very tall. They can go up to 6 meters. Now what happens is that the foliage, as it grows, is that these leaves will drop, and that's what you need to prune, because otherwise it starts looking really scraggy and untidy. Maybe just before, at the end of fall, or when these leaves do start dropping, just go in there and cut them down to its base, because then you actually do clear the soil area. The other thing is that also the flower stems, do remove it. Don't be scared to remove it, because once it flowers from that stem, you won't get another flower from the same stem. So do go in there and cut it and neaten it up. Other than that, it's the most glorious, glorious display of flowers, and I'm really looking forward. So thank you so much, fellow gardeners, and thank you for following this channel. Don't forget to like and to share, and don't forget to press that notification button, and also subscribe to our channel. It does mean a lot to us. And do DM me on Instagram. We're always uploading pictures of plants in my garden. So thank you so much for following, and have a lovely day. Do get yourself one of these plants and either have it indoors or outdoors. Thank you very much.